স্টুডেন্ট ক্লাস 12 একটা ইংলিশ প্রজেক্ট দিয়ে দিচ্ছি। দেখো, হায়ার সেকেন্ডারি প্রজেক্টর ইংলিশ, বনগাঁও হাই স্কুল। এখানে তোমরা অন্য স্কুলে হলে নিজে নিজে স্কুলের নাম লিখবে। প্রজেক্ট ইন এডিশন অফ অস্কার ওয়াইল্ডস স্টোরি দ্য হ্যাপি প্রিন্স, প্রজেক্টর 2023-24, সাবমিটেড বাই, এখানে নেম অফ দ্য নিজের নিজের নাম, রোল নাম্বার, রেজিস্ট্রেশন নাম্বার ইন পার্শিয়াল ফুল কমিটমেন্ট টু ক্লাস 12 ইংলিশ কোর্স। এটা প্রথম পাতায় রাখবে। আর একটা পিডিএফ আকার দেওয়া থাকবে, দরকার হবে সেখান থেকে ডাউনলোড করে নেবে ডিসক্রিপশন বক্স থেকে লিঙ্ক নিয়ে। এরপরে দেখো অ্যাকনোলেজমেন্টস। দিস প্রজেক্ট অ্যান্ড output of collaborative activities has provided me with ample opportunities to widen my horizon of knowledge. I want to thank রেসপেক্টেড মিস্টার শশাঙ্ক শেখর দে, এটা বনগাঁ স্কুল টিচারের শিক্ষকের নাম, তোমরা নিজের নিজের স্কুলের শিক্ষকের নাম দিয়ে দিতে পারবে। টু হুম আই ও স্পেশালি ফর preparing this project based on the beautiful story entitled The Happy Prince written by Oscar Wilde. I am also thankful to Mr. Wbchse who showed me proper ways to write the project report. এটা বিশ্বজিৎ পাল আরেকজন ইংরেজি টিচার বনগাঁ স্কুলে, সেটা তার নাম দিয়েছি, তোমরা নিজের স্কুলের টিচারের নাম লিখবে। I do want to extend my heartful thanks to Mr. Nitai Haldar who also helped me to write the project. নিতাই হালদার বনগাঁ স্কুলের টিচার, তার নাম লিখেছি, তোমরা নিজের স্কুলের টিচারের নাম লিখবে। I do want to thank others who helped me in various ways to make a final draft of this project and submit the same to our school. এই অ্যাকনোলেজমেন্টটা একটা পাতায় থাকবে। এরপর দেখো সার্টিফিকেট। Certificate দেখো, it is certified that the project report entitled Indianization of Oscar Wilde short story The Happy Prince submitted by, এখানে আমি সুরজ বিশ্বাসের নাম লিখেছি, তোমরা নিজে নিজে নাম লিখবে। ক্লাস 12, রোল নাম্বার, রেজিস্ট্রেশন নাম্বার, ইয়ার 2023-24, সাবমিটেড ইন পার্শিয়াল ফুলফিলমেন্ট টু ক্লাস 12 ইংলিশ কোর্স ডিউরিং দ্য একাডেমিক ইয়ার 2023-2024 is a bona fide, a bona fide record of project work carried out under my guidance and supervision. And a signature of the project guide date, এখানে শিক্ষক মহাশয় সিগনেচার করবেন, তার নাম, নেম, ডেজিগনেশন অ্যাসিস্ট্যান্ট টিচার, ডিপার্টমেন্ট ইংলিশ, স্কুল বনগাঁ হাই স্কুল, এখানে নিজের নিজের স্কুলের নাম লিখে দেবো অন্য স্কুল হলে। এরপর দেখো কন্টেন্টস, এটা ওর একটা পাতায় রাখতে হবে। এক ইন্ট্রোডাকশান, এখানে পেজ তুমি যেভাবে কোন পেজে তোমার পড়ছে সেই অনুযায়ী পেজ নাম্বার দেবে, এখানে আমি লিখেছি 1 থেকে 5 পেজের মধ্যে এটা আছে। 2 হচ্ছে প্রসিডিওরস অ্যান্ড ইনপুট, পেজেস 6 থেকে 9-এর মধ্যে আছে। আউটপুট অফ দ্য প্রজেক্ট পেজেস 10 থেকে 24-এর মধ্যে আছে। আর কনক্লুশন পেজেস 24 থেকে 25-এর মধ্যে আছে। আর রেফারেন্সেস বিবলিওগ্রাফি পেজেস 25, এটাও একটা পাতায় রাখবে। এরপরে ইন্ট্রোডাকশান, এই যেমন এইখান থেকে দেখো পেজ নাম্বার 1 শুরু করেছি। ইন্ট্রোডাকশান, চুজিং দ্য প্রজেক্ট ইন আওয়ার সিলেবাস ফর ক্লাস 12, 3 topics are included: A, theatre script; B, interview of an eminent personality; and C, Indianization of the writing of some English writers like Dickens, Hardy, Jane Austen and Oscar Wilde. After long discussion with our teachers, we, a group of 20 students, chose the topic Indianization of Oscar Wilde as our project. Our respected teacher, Mr. Nitai Haldar, gave us a brief but clear idea of what Indianization means and how to say dialogues on different similar Indian characters of the story and add a new dimension to the story The Happy Prince from Oscar Wilde's work. এখানে নিতাই হালদারের জায়গায় তোমরা তোমাদের নিজের শিক্ষকের নাম লিখবে যদি অন্য স্কুল হয়, ঠিক আছে। নিতাই হালদার বনগাঁ হাই স্কুলের টিচার, সেজন্য তার নাম লিখেছি। সিলেক্টিং দ্য প্রজেক্ট দেখো, when the project was finalized we had a further group discussion with our English teacher for selecting the story A Happy Princess. Ideas yet the story because we all enjoyed the story very much. We felt that though the story is written about a happy princess, ideas meant especially for children, it would be appealing to people of all age group. Moreover, it would be easier for all of us to Indianize the characters as the language of the story would be easily manageable and intelligible to the audience, the majority of whom are students. Aims and objectives. The main objectives of our project work are: on the identification of the characters of Oscar Wilde and their nature, learning the setting and incidents of the story and understanding the plot or design of the story. There's a writing a synopsis of the main plot of the story, The Happy Prince. Then Indianization of the characters of Oscar Wilde and Indianization of the setting and incidents of the story, keeping the message of the story more or less the same. এবার 4 নম্বরে পয়েন্ট, Indianization of the British tongue through style and diction. 5. Marking the points of parallelism and deviation from the model story The Happy Prince by Oscar Wilde. Conditions to achieve the target. Creativity. Identifying the European context with the Indian one needs a good deal of thought and a scanning skill. Writing dialogues out of the story element and fitting them in different characters need a great deal of creativity. Writing skill. A good skill in English writing is a precondition for Indianization of any such a story by the British author. Comprehension skill. A good deal of comprehension skill is necessary for scanning the text model, understanding its theme, central idea, plot and design. Skill of transformation. Transforming the European background into Indian context requires a high level of imaginative power and transformation skill. এবার দেখো স্কিল ইন রাইটিং ডায়লগস. ডায়লগ বেসড স্টোরি রাইটিং হ্যাজ প্রুভড মোর attractive than the mere descriptive story. Besides, the original story, The Happy Prince, is full of short dialogues. So, innovating dialogues and setting them between the characters need to be done, and for this, a student needs the skill in creating dialogues. Narrative technique and descriptive power. Since a story requires description of the setting, certain places, things or situations of the story, a writer's descriptive power and narrative skill needs to be up to the mark. Power of observation. Power of observation, minute power of observation. Observation is another quality which is expected of a good short story writer. Skill in shortening the length. Since the original story is big in volume, it needs to be tailored skillfully to suit the length of our project. So we need to leave out the secondary and focus on the primary elements of the story. This task demands our skill in shortening the original story, keeping the main message unaltered. এবার দেখো limitations. We had several limitations for carrying out such a topic. The first among them was we were never exposed to writing a full-length story. Neither did we know how to curtail the redundant elements and insert the narrative voice where necessary. Another important limitation was we were not used to collaborative work for the same project. Initially, it proved a limitation as students differed on a great scale about the formation of dialogues and putting them on different mouths. Some of us were not exposed to Indianization as a different literary genre. Moreover, the concept of Indianizing a European story was completely new to us. এরপরে দেখো procedures and input. For the Indianization of Oscar Wilde's story, The Happy Prince, we worked in groups and sometimes in pairs through a systematic process. Our teacher fixed 10 interventions for carrying out the project. The details of our activities are enumerated below. The first intervention, on the very first day, the teacher selected from us 4 characters and asked them to read the story The Happy Prince aloud, making drama where the dialogues are there and teaching us voice modulation for different situations. Sometimes the teacher himself told us how to act act in certain situations. After the loud reading was complete, he asked us to read the text silently for the following activities. Act 1. Writing the characters of the story on the blackboard. 2. Counting the number of major characters and minor characters and writing them on the blackboard. এটা 2 হলো। Number 3. Writing the headings of the major incidents on the blackboard. 4. Writing the main characters of the story on the blackboard. 5. Writing the main incidents of the story on the blackboard. 6. Underline the parts of the story that need to be casted to shorten the length. After that, the teacher asked us to write the story in a nutshell. Then he asked us to read the story at home time and again and try to think of the characters and scenes that can replace Oscar Wilde's characters and scenes. Second intervention. On the second day, the teacher made us write the Indian characters parallel to the characters of the Happy Prince. He made certain changes and asked us to write the setting. We at first told the teacher how we thought of the setting. The teacher listened to us carefully and selected on from us to write the final draft of the blackboard. We corrected our write-ups. Fourth while we thought of replacing the Happy Prince by Siddhartha Gautam, who was also a prince, but later he renounced all worldly happiness and became Buddha, the Lord. The statue was described in a unique way. The idea of supplying the statue with rare jewels originated with our revered English teacher, and we in a group wrote the first part of the story in our exercise book. Third intervention. On the third day, we were asked to write the text incidents on the blackboard. We, through group work and in consultation with the teacher, wrote some lines on the blackboard. Then the teacher asked us to write dialogues for the first episode. For our convenience, he gave us a starting push by writing the first 3 dialogues, keeping blanks in certain places. We were asked to fill in the blanks. The teacher selected the characters from us by turns and asked us to write dialogues for them. The entire class, along with the teacher, helped the students to describe incidents and write dialogues. Thus, the first draft was written. After the draft was written on the blackboard, we were asked to do the following. On copying the dialogues in our exercise books, by uttering the dialogues one by one in a dramatic tone, identifying ourselves with the characters. Before the teacher called it a day, he asked all of us to think of how to write dialogues for the next incidents. Fourth intervention. On the fourth day, we were asked to write dialogues in the same way on the blackboard, and the teacher, through discussion with the students, corrected the sentences. Then he asked us to act out the situations through the written dialogues. We were told at length to think of the next 2 scenes of the story for writing speech forms. Fifth intervention. On this day, the middle of the story was built up with collaborative effort. Sixth intervention. On the 6th day, the rest of the story was written by us with very little help from the teacher. Through these days, we understood how to write dialogues for the story, and we were greatly elated. Seventh intervention. On the 7th day, we were all ready with the entire story. The story was reviewed and we made certain minor changes. Eighth intervention. On the 8th day, the student prepared their final draft. Ninth intervention. The final draft was read out to the students and teachers, and we were asked to write a review on this. 10th intervention. We read our review of the write-ups and submitted the final project report for assessment and evaluation. এরপরে দেখো আউটপুট অফ দ্য প্রজেক্ট, মানে মূল প্রজেক্ট শুরু হচ্ছে। ইন্ডিয়ানাইজেশন অফ অস্কার ওয়াইল্ড স্টোরি দ্য স্মাইলিং প্রিন্স। এখানে বুদ্ধদেব বা স্মাইলিং প্রিন্সের একটা ছবি পারলে জোগাড় করে দিয়ে দেবে, এখানে ছবি দেবে একটা। এরপরে দেখো synopsis of Oscar Wilde's story The Happy Prince. Oscar Wilde's Happy Prince is the story of a happy prince who never knew sorrow in his lifetime, but after his death, people erected a statue of the Happy Prince and installed it on a high tower in the city so that people could remember him. The statue was covered with thin leaves of gold. It had a blue ruby in its sword hilt. Its eyes were made of sapphires, but placed on such a high tower, the prince now could see the sorrows and sufferings of the people. He felt so sad for them that he wanted to help them. Just at that moment, a migratory bird who stayed back, making friendship with a reed fellow, to the statue and took shelter between the feet of the happy prince. But the tear of the prince and his request made him stay with him. His friends were waiting in Egypt, but he did not refuse the prince. According to the instructions of the happy prince, the swallow took away the ruby from his sword hilt, plucked out the eyes made of sapphire, and gave them to the poor. When the prince became blind, the bird decided not to leave him. Then, according to the introductions of the prince, the bird took এটাই instructions হবে, এটা introduction না, instructions of the prince, the bird took away the thin leaves of gold from his body and gave them to the poor and the helpless. At last the task of the bird was over and he got exhausted. He said he would go to the house of death, so he kissed the lips of the prince and the statue cracked. The next day the town councillors saw the cracked statue and the dead bird. The metal could not be melted, so they threw the statue in a deserted place by the side of the dead bird. God from heaven sent an angel to take away the souls of these to keep them in heaven. Central thought: a really great person does not live for his own happiness. He rather lives to sacrifice his all to the poor, the ailing, and the helpless. He inspires with his blessings the depressed and the hard workers to achieve their aims. ক্যারেক্টার্স ইন দ্য হ্যাপি প্রিন্স, এখানে ক্যারেক্টার্স ইন দ্য স্মাইলিং প্রিন্স চেঞ্জ হচ্ছে আর কি। হ্যাপি প্রিন্স এখানে স্মাইলিং প্রিন্স সিদ্ধার্থ গৌতম, সোয়ালো এখানে ময়না, রিড এখানে ট্রি, প্রফেসর অফ অর্নিথোলজি কমন পার্সন, এখানে পুয়োর স্যামস্ট্রেস, এখানে পুয়োর সোয়েটার ওয়েভার্স, ম্যাচ গার্ল এখানে স্ট্রিট বেগার, এ পুয়োর মাদার অ্যান্ডারসন, এ পুয়োর মাদার অ্যান্ড সন, মানে দুটোর চরিত্র পাশাপাশি এখানে। এরপরে তোমার আউটপুট অফ দ্য প্রজেক্ট যেটা তুমি লিখছো সেটা আর কি। আউটপুট অফ দ্য প্রজেক্ট দ্য স্মাইলিং প্রিন্স। লং অ্যাগো ইন দ্য সেন্টার অফ এ সিটি নেমড Tamralipta, a statue of worship was erected by the then rulers of India. The statue looked golden and excellent. Visitors from across the world came to see the wonderful statue, smiling all the time. Whoever passed by the statue was inspired with a new zeal and fresh leaves of life. His eyes were made of two shining sapphires and a large gold necklace with an unknown bright pendant which glowed beautifully at night. The statue was raised on a tall platform and it was well protected by a fence, so it was inscribable to men. The children after the school on their way back home used to congregate these and stand around with wonder, forgetting even their sports. The guardians of them sometimes were very angry that they wasted their time seeing the statue all the time. Why can't you be smiling always like the smiling statue? Said the children. That is a lifeless statue and you can make him laugh or weep. They don't have the power to change his look, said the parents. After a few years, when the children grew up a bit, they came to tell their parents, "Today we have seen the statue weep." The parents went to the statue and saw a beautiful scene. They saw the statue holding a beautiful bird in hand and smiling as before. They were astounded. News spread among the city dwellers that the statue was a living one. The aesthetics came and dismissed it as a rumor, but the news soon percolated to the villagers and to all the Indians. It was floated that the poor and the helpless who pray to him for help, the statue are blessed by. And these two girls were employed temporarily to protect the statue, but the girls did never see any miracle. So after a few days, they also became indifferent to the statue. A few years away from where the statue was built, there was a big buckle tree. Once in winter, a beautiful looking little moina came from the Himalayan hills and took its parts on its branches and made friendship with the tree. The bird was so enamored by the beautiful scent of the buckle flowers, especially at night, that he wanted to stay longer with the tree and do some good to him. One day the bird did not go to search for food. She cried all day. The tree said, "Why did not you fly out today?" The bird cried more and more. The tree lowered its branches on the beautiful looking bird, patting on her head with almost filial affection, and asked once again, "Please don't hide anything for me. Did I hurt you in any way?" The bird said, sobbing, I am a migratory bird. I know I am precious to man, but what use of that to you? You have given me shelter, and not only that, you are so kind that you lull me to sleep by the sweet fragrance of your nice little crowd of flowers, but I cannot do anything in return. The tree laughed, but hearing his laughter, the bird said in wonder-struck voice, "How come you are laughing? Today I saw your tears when group of saucy schoolboys rinsed some of your boughs and plucked your tiny little flowers." The tree sounded a little grave at this time and said, "I don't remember these pangs, as it is inevitable to us because we cannot move. We are like statues, neither can we fly away, neither do we have hands to prevent them. We don't have voice either to convince them that we are for you, and if you cut us, you will invite your own tragedy." The tree stopped for a moment, and the bird renewed his sobbing. There was a long lull, but all on a sudden the tree broke the silence with a peal of laughter. He said, "But if you don't fly out for game, how can you live?" "Please don't think of me," said the bird. He did not take anything that day. The next day he flew far away in joy for games. It had late afternoon when he came, but to his surprise he saw the tree lost all its branches. In order to decorate the approach of the tree was ordered to be felled by the local administration. The bird's tears were seen by the dying tree, and he said with a smiling tone, "Don't cry, we are born to die for mankind. In a moment my trunk would be chopped, but you don't miss a moment and go to the statue. He needs your help." The bird said, "No, I shall protect you and shall die with you." But the tree said with tearful tone, "If you love me, don't wait. Go to the statue right now." He flew to the statue, sobbing, and sat between his feet. When he saw sobbing, his eyes were so full of tears that he could see nothing, but he felt drops of water falling from above. He moved up his eyes with his legs. There is not a single trace of cloud in the sky. Then where does the rain come from? He said to himself. Soon big drops of water fell on his wings and he saw upward. What did he see? He saw that the statue's eyes were swimming with tears. He said, "Who are you? Why are you crying?" "I am the smiling prince. I am crying for the tree as well as for lots of people who by the sweat of their brow earn a little bread and cannot make both ends meet," said the statue. The bird kept mum. The statue went on to say, "I was Siddhartha Gautam, the prince. I had no want of worldly possessions, but when I grew up, I renounced everything and sat on meditation to gain the supreme knowledge. I became Lord Buddha. I learnt the truth, but the rich and the powerful spent money on the boyhood statue instead of doing good to the people. I cannot stand this." "What did you learn?" asked the bird. "I learnt a lot, but you would know from me when you are a little more mature and want me to keep smiling. First do something as I tell you," the statue said in a laughing tone. The bird agreed to listen to his words. The statue continued to say in a soft musical voice, Far away on the outskirts, there is a poor house. One of the windows is open. Through the window, I can see a mother who is trying hard to stitch a sweater to sell in the mart. Her little child is ill. He wants to eat apples and blackberries and sweet tamarind, but his mother can earn very little to feed them and give him medicine. Won't you get her this necklace? Like the tree, I am fastened to this pedestal. I cannot move." But the bird said, "After the death of the tree, I am very sad and want to go back to my place to forget the pang. Besides, my friends have all gone away to our home. They are making merry with each other, and we are smelling the sweet perfume of all springtime flowers like bougainvillea, tulip, etc. Moina, Moina, little Moina, don't you want to see me smiling? The boy may die. I don't care for the boys because I have seen them to be cruel. They cruelly rends out the branches," said the bird, giving pain to the trees. But the statue looked so sad that he wanted to be his messenger. The statue smiled and said, "Thank you, little Moina." So he took out the necklace from him and flew over the city. He passed over the skyscrapers at Haldia, the diamond city, the city malls, and the airport. At last he reaches a small village, Mahmudpur, by side of a small flowing river, Shahili. There he slipped into the room through the window. The mother fell asleep while the boy was tossing and to and fro with fever in an unconscious statue. The bird put the necklace with the pendant by the side of the half-finished sweater and the swing sticks. He flapped his wings to fan the boy cool and flew out. He came back with a sense of satisfaction, alighting on his seat. He said to the statue, "I am feeling fresh now." "That is because you have done a good job," said the statue. After a while, the bird fell asleep. Next morning, he rose a bit early and flew to a nearby pond to have a dip in nearby river. He resembled the cuckoo, so people around were astounded to see the cuckoo of spring in winter. Tonight I shall go to the Himalayas, but before that, let me go to the place where my buckle tree was standing, he said to himself. Then he soared up and floated on the town, just keeping his wings stretched. There he found a big bungalow in one side of the big floats. He hopped steadily. He saw some people keeping numerous sacks of money inside the big holes of the wall and sealing them with pendant wood pieces. The white skinned as well as some colored people were merrymaking, eating meat and drinking pegs after pegs of liquor. The bird felt sad. When the moon rose, he came out and sat by the side of the statue. So I am going to the Himalayas. Keep well then, said the bird. The statue again requested him to stay a night more and started crying. He said, my sweet Moina, far away across the city I see a young girl in her thirst. She is reading in the light of kerosene lamp. The oil is almost exhausted. She is writing a story for a competition to win some prizes so that she can continue her study. She is morose that the gust of cold wind is blowing through the chinks of her cottage made of mud and kanchis. এখানে bambooings, kanchis মানে bambooings. The bird said, have you another necklace? The bird said, alas, I have no other necklace left, but you can pluck out one my eyes. They are made of precious sapphire. The poor girl would sell them, mend her heart, and buy food and fuel for the lamp. Dear prince, I can't do this, said he, and he began to weep. The prince said in a baritone voice, dear Moina, don't think of me, do as I tell you. The Moina plucked out his eyes and flew to the girl's cottage. She flew into the heart silently, and dropping the jewel on her table, she hopped out, and the girl was so absorbed in thought that she could do not hear the flapping of his wings. Opening her eyes when she was going to pick up the pen, she found to her surprise and joy the sapphire. She knelt down before her god and said, it must be the god's messenger who has given me this to boost my writing. What a great luck. The bird flew back to the statue and said, now let me go, or I shall suffer in the extreme heat of the city summer. The statue said again in tearful eyes, look in the heart of the city. The little beggar is trying to get some alms from the passerby. He has lost his parents, and he has a little sister to feed who is sleeping near the gutter of the road on a piece of tattered cloth. Please pluck my other eye and give the sapphire to him. He will sell it and would be able to bring his sister up. The bird said, but I cannot pluck your second eye, then you would be completely blind. But the prince said in a commanding tone, don't think of me, said, do as I tell you. The bird cried at the top of his voice and plucked out of the second eye of the prince and flew to the beggar and dropped the sapphire on his hand. What a beautiful thing, he said, and carried out in joy. He rushed to his sister. When he came back, the prince said, now you are free to go to your native places. But the Moina said, I shall never go away from you. On who shall look after you? The next morning, the bird told the prince stories of beautiful cathedrals, wonderful towers, forts, and edifices of different countries that he saw while migrating from one place to another. The prince listened to all of them and said, Moina, you took of the marvelous sights, but if you fly above this town, you would find thousands of starving children and ailing mothers, but the bird sat sadly by the side of the prince. Suddenly the statue said, "Why are you sad, Mana?" The bird said, "Home come you know I am sad." The statue said, seemingly, "I understood everything as I have a third eye. I am not Siddhartha now. I am now Buddha, the wise." The statue said, "Don't get depressed that there are so many poor families left unaltered, unattended to and unassisted. On ruler put inside me precious jewels to steal them away when opportunity comes, but he died of a strange disease. I can't bear all this. My mission is to help the poor and to give them inspiration to do work. Search carefully my back. You would find a very small hole. If you pick it, it will be large and you could get all the precious jewels on by one. Then you would begin anew the task of helping the poor." The bird found the jewels and worked accordingly. It took him years to bring all the jewels and give them to the helpless. One day, when the bird finished the task, the prince said, "Look, Mana, you are a common bird. You were a common bird once, but now through your sacrifice and love for me and the helpless, you have become great." The bird, after a long travel and continuous work, got spent. So he said, "My task is over. I can't move. I am aged too. Let me die at your feet." The statue smiled and said, "My task is also over here. Come to my breast, little Mana. You have done something very great. You won't die. You would live forever in my heart, and we shall go to the heaven where I reside." Then a thunderous sound emanated from the tower, and they started the journey for heaven. Early next morning came the locals and the official staff to see what had happened. The foreigners who got the news of the precious statue and the likely valuable inside the statue came also with their instruments of stealing. Soon people from different places and distant villages gathered there, but all of them were surprised to see no statue there. The government geared up and the investigation team came to study the case. Soon they arrested the suspects, including the known criminals from the locality, but all their efforts proved vain to get the trace of the statue. People who were benefited by the jewels came to see the place. The poor people who were benefited and unexpected gifts believed in it to be the providence of Lord Buddha. They paid their respects in tearful eyes. Some of them said to each other, possibly he was dissatisfied with the corruption of the dishonest people of our country, so he has moved to another country. Some said the statue is gone. It means he is born somewhere. The dishonest foreigners who always steal away things from different countries took the permission from the government to break the pedestal and build another statue of Buddha. They actually hoped to find precious metals inside the pedestal, but no sooner did they try to break the pedestal, it hit the workers so hard that they left the place in fear. The pedestal without the statue remains there till today, and it has become the center of attraction for the pilgrims across the world. Conclusion. While Indianing Oscar Wilde's The Happy Prince, I made certain changes of the storyline, keeping the message and the main characters of the story intact. I made the Indian hilly moina come from the Himalayas instead of the swallow from Egypt. I made the bird talk to Indian buckle-tree instead of reed. Some Indian towers and villages and Indian villagers have been described to replace the European stealing and European characters. The happy prince in Indian context has been Siddhartha, who was the son of Shuddhodhan, a sort of a king. He got Bodhisattva and is worshipped as God. To uphold the great of the Indian rulers, I have stacked the statue jewels a statue with jewels. I did not make the statue covered with gold to lend the story a certain degree of plausibility and a new dimension. The story ended with Indians' belief in the providence of the Lord Buddha. The title of the story has been changed a little in a view of changed setting and a storyline. Bibliography, appendices, acknowledgement. The book on project published by the West Bengal Council and some points of Indianization helped me in having a more or less fair conception of the project. I extend my heartfelt thanks to our revered English teachers for helping us with the concrete idea about the project. In fact, their guidance and discussions were the primary source that we banked on for the submission of the final draft of the project. স্টুডেন্ট আজকে পর্যন্ত, পরের ভিডিও দেখা হবে। থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ ফর ওয়াচিং।